Friends, have you ever seen the offspring of angels and demons? In this novel, I not only discovered such beings but also witnessed how they struggle to survive in the human world and the supernatural realm. Imagine being the messenger of light and the child of darkness. What kind of adventures would such a dual identity bring you? Let's uncover the mystery together. 1. Jason's POV. A long time ago, the devil made a deal with God. Peace between heaven and hell was accorded. But God's sister should leave to the underworld, Lucifer's kingdom. Fate decided that they would fall, and they both fell. They fell in love. He made her sin. To house, to born babies, half angels, half demons. A boy and a girl. They weren't part of the deal, so where should they be raised? The midpoint. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing Clichet's enthusiasm. But they refused. They would never, ever leave their children alone on oath. They both fell. They both sinned. A secret. They must be kept in secret. The oblivious children made them sin. Lying is a sin. Kill a pure soul is a sin. So fate decided. It decided death. The young boy must die. The young girl was sent to earth at the golden age, sweet 16. Poor soul. All alone. But fate forgot something. They were half angels and half demons. They can only half die. They can only half live. The boy became the light ghost, and he has a desire. He wants to see his twin sister, the angel, on fire. Martha, stop scaring the kids. This woman is so annoying and crazy. I'm sorry, Alpha, but they must be warned about these horrid creatures. And has been scaring the pups with this crap for decades now, and absolutely nothing has happened. It's part of a fairy tale. I checked, but she only reads the creepy parts to scare the kids. You will end this stupidity of yours right now, or you will face the consequences. And it's getting on my nerves. But it's the prophecy. We creatures of the supernatural world should not AVOI. She was interrupted by a cry. More specifically, my little sister's cry. And no one, absolutely no one, messes up with my family. Not anymore. I don't particularly enjoy yelling at people, but this switch is pissing me off. The pathetic old woman started shaking with her head down. You are forbidden to enter the castle. I'll find someone else to take care of the children. You are dismissed, and signing to the guards to take her out of my sight. I got up and decided to get ready for school. I could be right now doing something much more productive in my room, since it'll be the last day living in the castle for another year besides. Who doesn't like releasing some stress? The alpha hormones are hard to control, so pent-up sexual frustration is something that I'm used to. However, every time I get a chance to release myself onto some random girl who's complying to help, I do it. Then I discard her and move on with my life. But no, the Alpha King, also known as my father, decided that I should learn how to handle and socialize with humans, since I'll become the king once I hit 18, so he enrolled me in high school. This idea surged 2 years ago, so I'm on at that hellish building by now, and I had to live in the pack house with the other wolves that also go to school instead of enjoying the comfort of my castle. When I was done eating, I walked outside and entered my car. Last year of this shit. And started the engine. 2. Castiel Isles POV. I opened my eyes when I felt the rays of sunshine enter in my room through the soft white curtains. With a sigh, I got up and went to take a shower. I shivered as soon as my warm feet touched the floor's cold tiles and started undressing. Then, looking at my reflex in the mirror, I noticed something today. My eyes had the green flecks brighter than usual. My eyes are one of my favorite features of my face. They are doe hazel, and it's never the same color. Some days the golden zones are more prominent. Or like today, the green flecks are shining. They only get a darker tonality when I'm either sad or angry, which rarely happens. I smiled at my appearance and entered in the shower. 10 minutes later, I was fresh as cucumber, and headed downstairs where Maria was, I presume, preparing breakfast. Good morning, Maria. I pecked her cheek. Good morning, my sweet girl. She smiled and turned the oven off. Get a seat, sweetie. Breakfast is ready. I nodded and smiled back. It was useless to ask her if she needed help. She would take it as an offense, as if we were insinuating that she was getting too old to do simple things by herself. Dig in, miss. Your first day of school starts in 35 minutes. I quickly ate the delicious food that Maria made, and 10 minutes later I was ready and waiting in the gates for Carl, the driver, to come out. I waved at Maria when I heard a honk and saw Carl adjusting the front mirror. Have a good day, sweetheart, Maria yelled when I entered the black car. Today Carl was driving my favorite car, the black Bentley. I sat down and took a mint-eatable gum that I always hide in the back seats of every car and looked up to see Carl looking at me with an amused look. I just smiled sheepishly for being caught digging in one of my guilty pleasures at the back seat of the impeccable car. Good morning for you to Miss Jones. I muttered a small greeting and Carl chuckled, then started the engine and drove off to my new school. After 15 minutes we finally arrived and I couldn't help but feel nervous. A lot of people were already staring at the car and we barely arrived the parking lot. Perhaps we should have brought a less flashy vehicle. When Carl got out of the car to open my door, it felt like I was being watched by dozens of zebras. Yes, zebras. Everything will be okay, miss. I'll be here waiting for you when your classes end. Have a good day. And with that he drove off, leaving me alone to fence by myself. I started walking towards the big building and kept feeling watched and started hearing the whispers. Oh no. My gum was no more in my mouth, but in my stomach instead. Thank God it was an eatable one. I arrived to a place that looked like a secretary and stared at the old man that was furiously typing on his computer. As if he felt me staring, he turned his gaze to me and I smiled. Good morning. How may I help you, Miss Jones? Castiel Jones, huh? I knew so. Could I please have my schedule? I asked with a shaky voice. He chuckled at my nervousness and smiled. No need to be nervous, Miss Jones. I assure you that the school is one of the best in the state. Here is your schedule and have a good first day, he said and handed me two papers, one where I could see all of my subjects, time and location of the classes, another with the number and combination of my locker. Thank you, have a good day too, sir, I replied with a smile before walking towards my locker and into my first class. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. As soon as I opened my locker, a little white feather with a piece of paper attached to it flew towards my face and touched my nose, making me twist my eyes so I could look at it. I realized that I probably looked like a creep, so I grabbed the feather and read the note. Good luck in your first day, SXN. I sighed and grinned, knowing that he was watching me from far away. Oh, Nero. I started shaking my head while putting them inside my locker again, along with some books that I wouldn't be needing for the next few periods. I was about to shut my locker when someone else did it for me. I jumped in fright and looked at the girl that was in front of me with a boy that had his arm around her waist. Sorry, we didn't mean to scare you, the girl said, offering a smile, and I started examining them both. The girl was pretty with her dark midnight hair and brown eyes. The boy was fit, blonde hair and dark blue eyes. They both radiated a good aura, so I smiled back. My name is Isabella and this is my boyfriend William, she introduced, and the boy nodded, smiling too. I'm Castiel, I replied shyly, smiling softly back at them. Oh my gosh, your name is so pretty and exotic, she squealed. My smile widened at her sweet words and excited tone. You have a really lovely name too, she grinned. Then we started talking about everything and anything when she suggested something that definitely made me feel more comfortable in this school. So I was thinking, would you like to sit with us and our friends at lunch? You get to meet new people and all that stuff. I can tell that we both will get along just well. My smile widened once again, and I quickly replied, sure. See you then, Castiel, William said, and Isabella shouted a goodbye. Then the bell rang and I started to walking towards my history classroom. 3 Jason's POV. I was lazily driving my car towards school, one hand on the steering wheel and the other tapping my leg to the rhythm of the random song that was playing on the radio, not worrying about getting late the slightest bit, since I prefer starve for 2 months than go to school. It's so boring and the humans are clingy and annoying. Well, at least the female population is. There's no girl that doesn't stare or drools. Only Isabella doesn't act like that, but then again, She's mated with Will and everyone knows that it's impossible to ignore or put down the mate pull. Besides, Will is one of my best friends from the pack house, so we are close, and she's like, "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I'd say sister, but I already have one. An irreplaceable one, to whom I owe millions of apologies. And I may sound really narcissist with what I just said, but just put yourself in my shoes and interact with the people at my school. You'd agree with me. Trust me. I'm aware that werewolves are naturally more attractive than regular humans, but please have some self-respect for God's sake. When I arrived at the parking lot, I was surprised to see it completely empty. Just cars. Not one single person waiting for my arrival as they usually do. Maybe the bell already rang. I took my phone out and see that there are still 5 minutes spare until the classes start on. I entered the building expecting to see everybody looking at me or greet me, since the last time they saw me was in the last school year. Double odd. I started walking through the halls and people finally started looking at me, but only for a few minutes. After that they kept talking and whispering about something that I'm still not aware of. And it's making me annoyed. I finally see Axel, Ethan, Elijah, and start to make my way towards them. "Hey Jason, man." Elijah is the first to notice me, and then we greeted each other by bumping our fists together, finishing with a pat on the back. After talking for a few moments, I decide to shoot the question that has been bugging me ever since I entered the building. "Okay, but why the fuck is everyone whispering?" The parking lot was empty. I asked with a mocking tone. Eli started snickering. "That's because everyone is busy trying to welcome the new student. Apparently everyone is either nervous or jealous. That's why they are gossiping," he explained, waving with his hand. "Oh yeah, and I heard that the new student owns a black Bentley and has a personal driver." He opened the back seat door for the novice to come out. "Quite fancy, huh?" Axel interjects. "So the dude is good looking and rich, so everyone is going crazy over him?" I asked, baffled by the information. "Who could he be?" They all started laughing. "Bro, the new student is a girl," Eli states. "I saw her in the secretary, and the girl is a total hottie with an innocent aura. Dude, she is literally a walking goddess." Even Grumpy Jeff smiled, and was nice to her. He even wished her a good day. But old Frog never smiles at anyone. After that, Ethan continues rambling about how a brown hair is a turn on, which made me realize that this dude may have a weird fetish for hair. It's Ethan we are talking about, though. Is that even really surprising? I just don't know her name, though. He finished his rant. Castiel. We all looked at Will and Isabella. They were holding hands. "If you are talking about the new student, her name is Castiel," Will stated. "Castiel. It leaves a sweet taste in my tongue for just trying to say her name. She's so sweet and nice. And she's so pretty," Isabella says. William grabs her waist and spins her around. "I thought you only had eyes for me, baby." I internally cringe at their lovey, dovey scene. Thankfully, Axel interrupts them with a fake loud cough. Isabella turns red and darts. "Oh yeah, I invited her to sit with us at lunch since she's new." And then they walked off, leaving us gaping after dropping that bomb. A few seconds later, the bell rang and everyone starts heading to their classes. And for some unknown reason, all I could think about was 3 hours and 30 minutes until I meet the famous Castiel. The Castiel. As soon as I entered the classroom, all eyes were on me. I'm not bragging about it. I'm actually feeling uncomfortable. I sat down by the left window. At least I could pretend to be looking outside and avoid the attention as the students kept entering the room. 5 minutes went by, everyone was on their seats, and the teacher walked in. And I could still feel people's gaze on me. The teacher looked around the class and then started to call out everyone's names to make sure that they were present. Andrew Carson. Anne-Marie. Present. And so on. My name started with C, which was the third letter of the alphabet, which also meant that my turn was getting closer. It's just saying, present, and raising your hand, Castiel. It's really not that hard. Carlos Hiz. Over here. Castiel Jones. Castiel Jones. There's someone else named Castiel in here. Wait, that's me. Present, I said hurriedly as I raised my hand. "Oh, you are the new student, right?" the teacher asked. I nodded. "Wanna do a quick presentation? How can I do it another time maybe?" The teacher quickly nodded. "Sure, whenever you are comfortable." And she continued to check the presences. Eventually, she started the actual class. For history, it was a really interesting class. Sure, it's the first day, so everyone is starting with a soft mode. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. 50 more minutes passed and the bell is ringing again. But the bell isn't the only thing making itself known in the classroom. Now almost empty. I looked down at my phone and frowned. "I have something important to tell you, Cass. I will see you at lunch. Nero X. What the heck? Nero cannot appear in front of people. Not normal people, at least. It's anatomically impossible. Animals can sense him. I can see him and sense him, and that's pretty much it. Maybe he know. He wouldn't do that." Shaking my head, I quickly typed back. "How are you gonna do that?" I started walking towards my next class when I heard another buzzing. "You'll have to see. We'll explain later. Love you, Cass X." I frowned again, but I quickly got over it and started to actually feel excited. Love you to Nero X. He's probably going to appear in someone else's body. Or in reflection. The possibilities started running in my head and I couldn't help but feel disappointed. I will never actually see him anymore. Touch him, I mean. I can see him, but only as a ghost. I can't touch him. It feels like I'm talking to air. I sighed and ran a hand through my chocolate brown locks. Next class, maths. Great. I know that I'm a good student, but I do not like some subjects. Maths being the perfect example. I waited for the bell and then entered in the classroom, always receiving looks. Some whistles and some phone numbers magically appeared in my desk, and that's how I made it through my morning classes. And before I knew it was lunchtime, which meant one thing: I get to see Nero. I happily strolled out of the hallway and entered the canteen. I was about to turn left when Isabella grabbed my arm and pulled me in the opposite direction. "Castiel, you are here. How has been your day so far? Made new friends? Oh, the teacher's nice. Come on, let's go to our table. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nogan. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "Calm down, Isabella," I said, trying to get on my 2 feet. Keyword trying. I tripped on a bag and almost fell. Luckily I didn't. We stopped walking and approached a big table located on the center of the canteen. I guess this is the popular table. Why? Well, first of all, it's located in the middle of the room where people have a clear vision of what's happening. Secondly, everyone was looking at us. And last, the girls on the left table were giving me nasty looks. I didn't really understand why until I heard a growl coming from the end of the table. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nogan. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I looked at source of the sound and saw a pair of the most beautiful blue bright eyes that were staring right through me. I started to inspect him. He had dark hair, perfect structured nose, not too plump, not too thin lips, and a natural glow all over his face. He was flawless, perfect even. My eyes widened at the creature in front of me, and I quickly got aware of where I was. I looked around at everyone that has arrived at the table, and everyone was stiffened with wide eyes. I looked at Isabella and she had the exact same expression. That is, until she realized the situation and started moving. She looked back at me and her face broke into a huge grin and she squealed, pulling me into a hug. I knew that there was a reason why I liked you. I knew it. I knew it. My face was, I'm unsure, red as a tomato as I looked around and saw everyone looking at us. I turned my gaze back to Isabella's friends. I smiled shyly at everyone in the table and waved awkwardly hi. Everyone smiled and greeted me back. I'm Castiel. Oh, we know who you are, don't worry, babe. A brown-haired, brown-eyed guy replied with a smirk. But as soon as those words came out of his mouth, the blue-eyed gorgeous guy seemed to growl at him, making him shut up. I heard him muttering something to the blue-eyed Greek god. As if sensing me thinking about him, his gaze fell back on me and he introduced himself. I'm Jason. He offered his hand, which I took happily. As soon as our skins made contact, tingles seemed to run through my entire body and I could feel my stomach burning with butterflies all over it from such a pleasurable feeling. It felt like fire burning my skin. And I loved it. I gasped and looked at him. He was wearing a mesmerizing smile and his face was awfully close to mine. I blinked and turned to everyone else in the table that were either grinning like complete fools, Isabella and William, or smirking like the rest of the guys. That later, I got to know that their names were Axel, Elijah and Ethan. I sat down and started eating my food, aware of the pair of blue eyes watching my every movement. I got to know a little bit about everyone, but I couldn't help but feel a strange and strong connection with Jason. For some reason I find myself drawn into him. I sighed in contentment. I got so distracted with my new friends that I didn't notice a tall, dirty blonde-haired boy with warm brown eyes walking into my direction. I looked up at him and threw myself in his arms, tears threatening to fall from my eyes as I hugged him tightly, afraid that he will let go again. Nero. 5 Jason's POV. I'm awestruck. She's so pure and perfect, like a walking sin. My mate is the most stunning and beautiful girl I've ever seen. And her scent, dear God, I can't. She smells like heaven and happiness. However, she didn't smell like human. There are 2 types of scents, the ranking scent and the personal scent. As you can guess, the personal scent is unique. Everyone has their own scent. Then you have the ranking scent. That ranks you as a creature. Humans have a hint of metal in their ranking scent. Werewolves have a green natural-like smell. Vampires stink of death. Yard F has a smell. And so goes on the list. I took another sniff and finally detected a really small hint of the metallic odor. It was so soft that was almost undetectable. I realized that I've been looking at her and sniffing her like a complete creep, so I just kept staring at her. I couldn't control the growl that came out of my throat. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilgan, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Fuck Basil, I don't want to scare her. I snapped at my wolf. Everyone at our table stayed silent at my outburst. That is until they started freaking out. Isabella shouted while I shooed her glare, warning her to watch her tone and keep quiet, her shrieking making my sensitive ears hurt. My little mate got shy and waved. Hi, and Castiel. God, her voice is so soft. My mind was too busy absorbing all her features that I didn't realize that Ethan replied to my mate first. Oh, we know who you are, don't worry, babe. Babe, who the fuck does he think he is? I growled at him lowly as a warning. Watch it, I muttered, knowing that he could hear me. I turned to my mate that was observing the scene with curiosity and then introduced myself. I'm Jason, and took her hand in mine. Sparks, tingles, call it whatever you want, but if I get this warm and fussy inside by just touching her hands, I imagine how kissing her, holding her and marking her must feel like. Basil doesn't stop putting those images in my head, so I shut him off before I did something that I'd have regretted. Lunch passed by quite quickly, with Castiel getting to know more about us, and us to know more about her. I can't hurt every movement with amazement. She's just perfect. Everything was going great until a tall and known guy got close to Castiel and took her in his arms. The worst part was that she hugged him back, with so much strength, like she would never let him go, while tears flowed out of her eyes when she gasped the man's name. Nero. After a few more minutes they let each other go, while I was gripping the ends of the wooden table with so much force that my knuckles were a sickly white tone and I could feel my eyes turning silver. Basil begging to come out, take control and rip Nero's head off and hold my mate close to me. She's mine. They were both talking with each other until he did the one thing that I was wishing him to do since he arrived. I need to go, Cass. I will see you later tonight. His eyes glancing at me on the last part of his sentence. I growled in response. He smirked in amusement. Of course, see you later. I love you, Nero. I love you to Castiel. And he kissed her forehead while watching me, watching my heart breaking in two. Of course, someone like her would already be with someone that she loves. And that someone isn't me. She turned to us again, and Isabella had the same expression as me. I refused to look at anyone, so I kept my stare focused on the table. He's gay, right? He's like your childhood gay best friend, right? Isabella asked, her eyes full of hope. In any other situation, I'd have laughed at her question and expression, but deep down in this moment, I'm as desperate as her. What? Of course not. I'd know he's my Isabella cut her. My cousin. He's your cousin, right? What? No, he's my. This time I cut her off. Do you love him? Of course I love him. He's my. The bell rang. My heart broke. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noban. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I muttered to myself and left the canteen lightspeed. I left cool and let Basil take control. We ran into the woods, deep to the heart of the forest, where I let out a whimper and howl of pain. After my run, I went to the pack house, grabbed a bottle of spirits and started drinking my sorrows. My mom has a brain disease and keeps pushing away my little sister because she doesn't remember her. My dad is getting weaker every day because he's slowly losing his other half. My mom, my sister, is ashamed of his man, or of an older brother, and she's only 6 years old. My mate is in love with someone else. My friends have each other's to be happy. What about me? I'm a disaster. Everything that I do is wrong. I deserve this. I let out a bitter chuckle and drank half of the bottle. Need to let out some stress alpha. Tiffany, the pack's blonde that enjoys sleeping around, asked, running her extremely long red painted nails over my chest. The last time I saw Tiffany, she was in the training field. Tiffany is relatively close to Melinda, the top guard of the royal family. A weird combination, I know. Melinda and I are really close. Or at least used to be, until she made me sleep with her. Things between us have been awkward ever since then. Looking back at Tiffany, I smirked and grabbed her by the waist and got it with her in the nearest room. This is my life. However, it felt awfully wrong to do this knowing that I have a mate. A person that you are supposed to cherish and love. That I remembered Nero's words. See you later tonight. And Castiel seemed happy to be able to spend the night with him. If she can do it, then I can do it too. But how can she? I feel repulsive touching other female other than her, my family. How can she touch other male? Even if she's human, she felt the mate bond. She would have made some sort of shock movement by touching him. Then I pushed Tiffany out of me. It felt so wrong. I couldn't do it anymore. I feel so disgusted with myself. I just deliberately cheated on my mate. 6. Castiel. Nero and I were in the living room talking, and he was explaining me how he was back physically with Allegra's help, the leader of the Witches' Coven, when my chest started feeling weird. The air was slowly getting out of me and a piercing pain has formed. I started whimpering. Castiel. Castiel. What's happening? He started shaking me. Make it stop. Stop, please. Nero, help. He put his hand against my forehead. I could see the dark sparks flying from his hand. Discede idolo. Pere de Dio. He kept whispering until I couldn't feel anything anymore. I smiled, thankfully, at him, and he smiled back and started patting my head, and his face is all I remember before falling asleep. I was in a deep slumber when my eyes snapped open, and I ran to my bedroom door and opened it. Nero stood there with hand on the handle. He felt it too. It's coming from south. We haven't received any or is on in weeks, and this one seems urgent. We need to go. Castiel. You know that Dad said to keep a low profile and avoid exposing ourselves. You know what will happen if someone finds out about us. I know, Nero, but I have a really bad feeling about this. Fine, but if Dad gets mad, you are taking the blame. Deal. A flame of pure red fire formed when we shook hands. We ran into the garage and got out our fastest car and started driving towards the Horizon location. I got my phone out and started texting home. What are you doing? Texting Maria so she won't call the council thinking that we went missing. I said, looking at him pointedly. It was only one time. I did warn Cole that I was going out to the Soul's Garden, and he called the whole council. Mom got pissed at me for no reason. I chuckled. I've missed you, Nero. You are the best brother in the world. All getting sentimental now, Cass. I was trying to be nice. You but wipe. You always ruin our moments. He started laughing hard. Oh my God, that was so child. and he started laughing again, not finishing his sentence. I shook my head. He wiped out the fate tear on his right eye and kept driving. A few minutes later he opens his mouth again. I've missed you to Grinch. You did not just call me Grinch. I started hitting him. He yelled. Cursed, I.L. Do not hit the driver. We could get into an accident and die. We looked at each other before bursting into a fit of laughter. He turned off the engine, opened the car's door. I got out and stood next to him. We turned around when we heard screams for help. The palace. Me and Nero started running towards the confusion until we were inside of the palace. People were coming out of every direction, so it took us a few minutes until we reached the middle of a big salon where a woman in noble clothes was sitting down crying with a hurt little girl on her lap, and a big man with black eyes was clutching his stomach that was dripping blood. He let out a growl and his body started shaking and he turned into a giant wolf. The werewolves royals. Something's wrong. All of a sudden the man started attacking random people, and I saw it in his eyes. He was possessed. Demon. Nero whispered. I took a step forwards and shouted, Demon IUM. The man turned around. Then EUTVS radio. I kept ordering. His body started shaking even more and he opened his mouth. A dark cloud coming out in a human-like figure. Nero, take care of him. I'll check on the victims. He nodded and started working on the portal to hell. I ran towards the woman with the girl. What happened? Leg. Tobias. Leg. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I put a hand on her head to try to calm her down, but I sensed something on her brain. She has a disease. I looked back at girl and noticed the enormous gash on her leg. I quickly took out my dagger and sliced my hand and poured my blood over her wound. A golden crust forms over it, closing the no more dripping blood wound. I pat her head gently so she can calm down. I look back up at the woman again. Why are you leg? She aches and she takes a deep breath as if she was retaliating with herself, and she gets a steady answer, thank you. I smiled at her, it's my job. The girl has fallen asleep. All the confusion must have exhausted her. Can I take her to her bed? I asked the woman. She nods and starts showing the directions. No words spoken. I turned around and saw Nero already closing the portal and writing the letter to Dad explaining what happened. I knew he wasn't going to put the blame on me despite our deal. We kept walking through the palace and we reached the little girl's room. I quickly laid her down and gave her a kiss on the forehead, assuring her a peaceful night of sleep. When I turned to leave, the woman came closer to me and gave me a hug. A motherly hug. I missed those hugs. I missed my mum. I hugged her back and got back to my brother, who just finished closing the portal. We made sure that no one saw us and got back to the car. I was in my seat and Nero was driving both of us in silence. Are you okay? I looked at my brother, who was looking back at me with concern in his eyes. I nodded and sighed. Come on, hurry up, I have school tomorrow and I'm really tired. I just need some time alone and a good night's sleep. This is my life. Next morning I woke up, stretched out and got up. Nero. Silence. I looked around the house. He's not here. I decided to take a shower and get dressed before searching for him again. I was not worried. He better than any other creature could defend himself. He's untouchable. I started undressing and looked at the mirror for a fast second, and looking back to my feet and looking up again when I noticed the note on the mirror. I had to go, Castiel. Dad called. And it's important. I'll only be able to come back in a few months. Besides, it took a lot of energy to be in full human form, and you know. Anyways, I love you, Castiel. I blinked and shrugged. It's not the first time that this happens, and I'm still curious at how the whole full human thingy with him works. I mean, Nero explained me the basics, but I feel like he's hiding something from me. I started washing my hair. A sweet aroma filling the bath. I hummed Dusk Till Dawn by S.I.N. Zane, since the song got stuck in my head for passing so many times on the radio. I've been living on Earth since I was 16. I'm almost 18 and the radio is still one of my favorite devices. I picked out a dark red floral skirt and put on a cute dark red shirt. Sipped on my light brown Oxfords, adding to flowers hairpins into my head's right side. I looked good. Ever since I met him, I have put more effort to look good. I checked myself in the mirror and noticed that my eyes today were more of a hazel tone. I ate my breakfast, thanking Maria of course, and rushed into the car where Carl was. Again, waiting for me. Good morning, Carl. Good morning, Miss Jones. Feeling happy today, aren't we? He mused. Indeed, Carl. And please, I already told you to call me Castiel. I smiled at him, and started looking around. He smiled back at me. Your mint sweets are in the seat compartment, miss, he said, chuckling. He must have caught me looking for my minty babies. I grinned at him, muttered a small thanks, and he started driving. In a few minutes we were pulling over in the school's driveway. Carl got out and opened my door. I got out as well and noticed a lot of students that were looking in my direction. I smiled at them. They either smiled back or waved. Getting popular, Castiel. Oh, shut it, Carl, I said, blushing and chuckling shyly. He laughed and entered the car, yelling, Have a good day, Miss Jones. Way to embarrass me. Thank you, Carl, really. I shook my head and entered the building. A lot of students watched me while I was walking through the halls trying to reach my locker. Some guys kept giving me looks and whistling while I tried to ignore them and the girls' glares. I internally sighed. A smile crept onto my face when I finally reached my locker, where Isabella and the rest of the group were. He was there. Good morning, everyone, I said cheerfully. Looks like someone is in a good mood, Ethan said without looking at me. Yeah, she probably got some last night. Tell me, Castiel, was Nero good in bed? Axel said in a really harsh tone. I didn't like it. What are you talking about? Oh, just how you and your dearest boyfriend had a great time last night. He saw me last night. I started panicking. If he saw me last night, then he has a small idea of who I am. I can't let that happen. Enough, Axel. She didn't do anything, Jason interrupted. Then a blonde girl with a green skirt came into our group and took Jason's face between her hands and started grinding herself on him and purred in his ear. I had fun yesterday, baby, wanna come over later? My heart broke. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. How could I be so foolish? My hands started shaking, and my chest started hurting like yesterday. The pain. They did something. I felt something wet in my upper lip. Cleaning it quickly with my hand, I noticed what it was. Blood. Thankfully I cleaned it while it was still fresh and well, red. I think I'd draw more attention if my blood started to turn golden. Isabella must have noticed my movement. Castiel, are you okay? She asked, worried. Then everyone started looking at me, even the blonde girl, who Jason pushed off immediately as soon as she purred at him. Yeah, just those allergies, you know. We are in September, there are no allergies in this time of the year, Elijah replied. Is someone sad and jealous? The blonde girl laughed, looking at me with distaste. Tiffany, don't talk with her like that, Jason roared, a massive feeling of power in his voice. And Castiel has a boyfriend, Ethan stated. I do. Everyone's head snapped in my direction. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Jan Eero, the dude from yesterday who you spent the night with, Axel said, an angry tone in his voice. Then I started laughing. Really hard. Tears were spilling from my eyes. I sobered up and answered. EW, no. Nero is my twin brother. I haven't seen him in a while because he's always traveling and studying abroad. He surprised me. Yesterday we played Monopoly. You'll think nasty, I chuckled a bit more. Their eyes were wide as saucers as they were all shocked. Tiffany, as I learned her name, rolled her eyes and put a hand on Jason's chest, who quickly snapped and pushed her away. Tiffany, yesterday was a mistake, and I was drunk. It meant absolutely nothing to me, he said, looking at her, but I got a feeling that he was talking with someone else. Talking with me. Like an explanation. He must have felt our connection too. I smiled at the thought. My smile, however, didn't go unnoticed. Tiffany caught me in my happy thoughts and walked over to me. You are loving this, aren't you? Listen up, bitch. Yesterday me and Jason had sex. He didn't even think about you, so get that pretty little ass out of here before I make you. Stay away from us or I will destroy you. That infuriated me. She acts like a petulant child. I'd like to see you try. I replied calmly, still thinking of her as a spoiled child. That seemed to snap her patience and she lunged at me. I quickly and effortlessly grabbed her arm and twisted it. Knelt her leg from behind, making her fall onto her knees in the cold hard ground soundly. A third echoing through the corridor, making some people turn their attention to us. Making her turn red in embarrassment as her eyes turned glossy with tears and shame. I started feeling bad for her. Maybe I shouldn't have been that aggressive and embarrass her like that. Next time you try to hit someone for nonsense, I will make sure that it's the last time you even think about doing it. Violence is not the answer for everything. Show some respect to others and maybe you will earn that respect back. There's no need to threaten people when you feel insecure. Talk with someone. If you want, you can even talk with me. Just please think before you act. My eyes are probably there orange or golden. In the middle of my speech, something triggered inside of me. Someone pray for help and it's a supernatural creature. Presidia destined, I whispered, closing my eyes. I let go of Tiffany and looked at the group, who was either mouth open and eyes widening in disbelief, just like the rest of the school, who quickly formed a crowd when they heard Tiffany coming at me. I smiled at the group. A fake smile. The time is ticking. I must go. I just remembered that I left my maths book at home. With that I left, induced my super hearing, and overheard them talking. How the hell did she do that? William asked. Self-defense class. Isabella is always the positive one. Her eyes were glowing and sparking, it looked like fire. Jesus Christ, that was hot. I'm pretty sure that it was Jason who smacked Ethan for saying that. Whatever it was, I'm sure she'll explain later. Now keep walking. You have classes. Thank you, Jason. I left school and ran into an empty alley where I let my wings out. 7. Jason. I woke up earlier today. Opened my eyes and a huge feeling of guilt filled me in. My heart felt heavy and empty. I cheated on my mate. I've never hated myself as much as I hated in that moment. Shaking my head, I headed to the showers and did all my morning business. I looked at the clock and it read 600 am. It's still really early. School only starts at 8:30 and I wasn't sleepy nor tired. The anxiety of my actions keeping me awake, so I decided to check on my parents. Leaving the pack house silently, trying to not wake up anybody, I got my car's keys and went to the garage. Pressing the open button on the keys, I quickly noticed the location of my car in the room full of expensive cars by the flash of lights that turned on. The drive to the castle was only 20 minutes and I don't intend to stay for long. A quick visit will do no damage. Entering the gates, the guards all bowing wherever I was going. I hopped out of the car and entered in the palace. My parents are early risers, so they are probably up already. I wish I could say the same about my little sister. Even if she was up, she'd probably pretend to be asleep to avoid talking with me. My sad thoughts are interrupted by my mom. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. She hugged me like she hasn't in a really long time. Hey Mom, I just came to make a quick visit, then I'll have to go to school. She nodded and grabbed my hand, leading me to the... I was about to ask her, what were we doing in here, when I saw my dad lying on the bed. He didn't look ill nor injured, just extremely exhausted, dark circles under his blue eyes, similar to mine. Dad, what happened? I asked, concerned. Oh hey son, good to see you, he replied smartly with sarcasm. I looked at him pointedly. He sighed and started talking. I went into the forest because we got reports of some attacks in the East Zone and this weird dark creature got inside of me. I was possessed by a demon, Jason. I attacked my own people. I attacked your sister. Thank the heavens they arrived to stop the beast before I got a chance to actually kill someone. What? Why wasn't I informed about this sooner? I all but shouted, but I didn't stop there. Were you even planning on telling me? I asked, hurt for the lack of trust that my parents have on me. But then again, I'm not really trustworthy, am I? I cheated on my mate. A pang of hurt hit my heart. You will step on the throne soon, and I don't want you to stress about anything until then, he explained. Still, you should have told me something, I said with a sigh. I know. That's why I want you to be crowned next week. I looked at him with eyes wide open. But he interrupted me. I can't do this anymore, Jason. I hurt your sister. My own daughter. My blood. You are still young, and for sure you will be able to be stronger than me, son. He finished with a sad tone. I found my mate. I blurted out. This time he was the one with eyes wide open. Congratulations, son. One more reason why you should be crowned king. Now you have a queen. I can't wait to meet her, Jason. How is she? He asked, excited. Her name is Castiel, and she's perfect father. An actual goddess. And she's kind. Sweet and caring. She will for sure be a great Lunar queen. My stomach churned thinking about her again. I don't deserve her. I'm proud of you, son. If only you knew. You wouldn't be so proud anymore. I smiled at him and started exiting when I remembered something. Dad, when you said that you started attacking people, they came and solved the situation. Who were they? Silence. I turned around. My father was asleep. Great. I guess I'll wait until next time then, I muttered with a sigh. I said goodbye to my mom and she ignored me. I guess she's getting worse. I lowered my head and got inside of my car and raced back to school. The visit has taken most part of my morning, but I still arrived earlier than usual. At 113 am, I entered the building giving small nods to the people. Most of them were pack members or werewolves from other packs, but as future Alpha King they need to respect me too. I found our group in front of a locker that smelled like my mate. The smell wasn't strong, which meant that it's still from yesterday. She hasn't arrived yet. Everyone greeted me and I decided to tell them before Castiel arrives so she won't get suspicious about anything. I'll be stepping on the throne next week. I blurted out and observed their reactions. That's cool, bro. Yeah, congrats, man. Don't forget about us, your majesty. I smirked at Eli, Ethan and at Will and gave them a bro handshake and then turned to Axel, who had a blank expression. I raised an eyebrow at him and he sighed. That means that Castiel will be a queen next week, and she is still with that Nero dude. We will have a king with a queen that loves someone else. We will get weakened then what? I'm worried, Jason. But congrats either way, bro. He muttered the last part and I was about to tell him that we would figure something out when my mate arrived and chirped with her angelic and sweet voice. Good morning, everyone. She looked adorable in her outfit, and I just wanted to hold her and protect her from the world. Run my fingers through her silky hair. Today her eyes were more of an hazel tone, making her look extra sweet. It's rather weird that her eyes change color like that, but the difference is not that big. Besides, I know gray-eyed people that can change their eye color as well, depending on how they were feeling. If they were sad, they would get darker. I wonder what tomorrow's color will be. Will it be as happy as now? I was so lost in her eyes and thoughts that I didn't notice Axel accusing her. Enough, Axel. She didn't do anything. I interrupted them. Then, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Tiffany had to show up. Great timing. She took my face in between her hands and started grinding on me. A few weeks ago I'd be already making out with her, but now I only want my mate. My Castiel. I pushed her away from me. I had fun yesterday, baby, wanna come over later? She purred. I made a disgusted face. Castiel, are you okay? I snapped my head towards my angel. She was cleaning her nose. That had what looked like blood, maybe. Then I looked at her eyes. A pained expression on her face. Her eyes were changing color and held sadness. And my heart broke all over again, making my chest ache at her expression. I didn't hear anything that they were saying, too occupied about my mate's broken expression, until Tiffany intervened. Is someone sad and jealous? She said, looking at my mate with distaste. Tiffany, you will not talk to her like that. My wolf was scratching to come out. Basil, calm down. And Castiel has a boyfriend, Ethan stated. Time for the biggest heartache in the history of heartaches. A confirmation? I do. She asks innocently. Jan Eero. The dude from yesterday who you spent the night with, Axel replied in a harsh tone that I didn't like one slightest bit. Then she started laughing. Oh God, even her laugh is perfect. It's like music to my ears. I could listen to her laugh all day. EW no. Nero is my twin brother. I haven't seen him in a while because he is always traveling and studying abroad. He surprised me. Yesterday we played a Monopoly. You'll think nasty. A feeling of relief filled me and I was battling to not smile. Too much. God, please just let me hold her. Tiffany rolled her eyes and turned back to me, putting her hands on my chest. I pushed her away. Tiffany yesterday was a mistake. And I was drunk. It meant absolutely nothing to me. Trying to get Castiel to understand and fix her broken eyes, even it was just a little bit. Tiffany turns to Castiel angry. You are loving this, aren't you? Listen up, bitch. Yesterday me and Jason had sex. He didn't even think about you, so get that pretty little ass out of here before I make you. Stay away from us or I will destroy you. I was ready to give her a lesson when Castiel replied relaxed. I'd like to see you try. Tiffany lunged at her and in seconds she was on her knees looking up at Castiel with tears in her eyes. Next time you try to hit someone for nonsense, I will make sure that it's the last time you even think about doing it. Violence is not the answer for everything. Show some respect to others and maybe you will earn that respect back. There's no need to threaten people when you feel insecure. Talk with someone. Hell, if you want you can even talk with me. Just think before you act. Pride filled me in. That's my girl. Then I looked at her. Her eyes were glowing with an orange fire color. What the fuck? Then she looked like she was communicating with someone and muttered something like, "Pres distant." She let go of Tiffany, turned to us. Smiled. A fake smile and got some excuse. I didn't buy it. I watched her leave and snapped back to my friends who noticed her strange behavior and expression too. Whatever it was, I'm sure she'll explain later. Now keep walking. You have classes. I dismissed everyone. I started following her scent. After a few minutes her scent disappeared. I looked around in an empty alley. Where did you go off to? Castiel? Castiel, another demon. This time it possessed a fairy. A freaking fairy. I seriously need a meeting with the council about this. It's the second case in 1 week. It may be just a coincidence, so I'm waiting for another attack to be sure that this is serious. I curse Nero for not being here. I decided to get back to school to not seem too suspicious. Besides, I still need an excuse for what happened in my locker. Sighing, I turned to the alley and retreated my wings and started walking towards school. It's not that far away. Something like 15 minutes or less. I looked at the time. 921 am. Not bad. I'll just say that the book was behind my secretary, therefore I took a little longer to find it. Everyone will be in their classes, so they won't. I don't have the book with me. I'll tell them that I put it in my locker as soon as I came back and they will. Hopefully, believe it. However, I'm still thinking about some realistic excuses to my encounter with Tiffany. Arriving to the entrance of the educative building, I felt myself going rigid. There stood Jace and talking on the phone, pacing around. I felt something on my stomach for just looking at him. Control yourself, Castiel Morningstar. I started my way back to pass without getting noticed by him when I heard him talking on the phone. Eu quero toda informa o posso el sobre ela. Portuguese. You're speaking Portuguese. Not the Brazilian Portuguese. The European one. I myself speak a lot of languages, Portuguese being one of them. However, it wasn't only the language that captured my attention, but what he was saying as well. I want every possible information about her. Who's she? Is he talking about me? Oh my. Breathe, Castiel. Mom and Dad made sure that everything would fit together like a puzzle. No weird information or registers about me. Why am I even stressing about this? It's just a human. But that human is Jason, and for some reason he makes me feel weird and good. I'm still trying to understand what kind of infatuation this is. Suddenly everything is silence. I turn around and I see Jason walking towards me. I started panicking. Castiel. Ahoy. I was worried you took so long. He says, concern and curiosity dancing around in his orbs. I smiled at him nervously. Yeah, I couldn't find my book, and scratched the back of my head, scrunching my nose at my excuse. Really, Castiel? He smiled back. His perfect smile, then frowned. Where's the book? You are empty-handed. Shoot. Oh, I figured since I couldn't find it that I must have left it in my locker and didn't notice it. Silly me. I was literally fidgeting in my place. Nervous laugh. Avoiding looking at him. After a few seconds of silence, I looked up at him, who was staring at me with so concentration, almost penetrating my soul. Then he smiled, and I felt myself getting lighter with relief. You are cute. I looked at him with eyes wide open and blushed. Blood, go back to your place. Leave my cheeks alone. Then he walked me back to my class. I feel so nervous around him. We were getting closer to the door, and then we stopped, and there was this awkward silence moment where no one dared to speak or move by Jason. Thank you for walking me. That sounded like a question, an idiot. He just smiled and nodded, then turned around and left. I opened the door and got in the classroom. 2 classes later, and I still haven't seen anyone from the group. However, when the bell rang in my last class, I walked out of the classroom and went to the restroom, wash my hands. You see, I don't like to get my hands dirty with cool stuff like the dark color that the pencil leaves in your skin or the magical bits of blue ink from your pen. Seriously, I wonder how can I always write on myself. Not exactly writing because I don't do it on purpose. Whatever, you know what I meant. While I dried my hands, a cold hand made me spun around, and I came face to face with a pretty ginger-haired girl with brown eyes that had a serious look on her face. Hey, she rolled her eyes at me and started talking. Are you Castiel? She asked rudely while looking me up and down. I replied with uncertainty, huh? You really are a beauty. I kinda see now why he likes you. What the F? Thank you. You are really pretty too, I said with a confused smile. Polite and sweet. She then smirked. Oh, Castiel, did you really think that you could humiliate someone like Tiffany and get away with it? I admit the blonde Barbie is dumb and weak, but she's supposedly still stronger than you, so I'm here to warn you, new girl. Oh, so you are one of her friends? I asked, slightly amused. No, sweetheart. I work for myself. Tiffany is an acquaintance. Not that is any of your concern. I want you to stop interacting with Jason. You can still do whatever you want with the rest. Just leave him. He does not belong with you, girlie. Human, you are too weak for someone like him. I controlled my laugh. Oh, okay. I won't do any of the things you just demanded. First off, Jason is my friend. I won't stop talking with my friend just because you said so. Seriously, what is it with you girls in here? Is there anything about him that I should know that makes him so much more important than any other guy in this school? Does he have a fan base or something? I'm truly amused by this. Do it your way, girlie. You'll regret it. Just remember that I warned you. With that, she left and I started laughing. Really hard. This is so cliché and stupid. I shook my head and made my way towards the cafeteria. Since it's already lunchtime, I walked and people started looking at me and whispering among themselves. Will this ever stop? I found our table and sat down next to Axel and Elijah. Hey guys. Hey Cass. Can we call you Cass? I smiled and nodded. We want to apologize for being mean towards you. We judged the situation too quickly, Elijah said, looking apologetically at me. Axel nodded, agreeing with his words. It's okay, boys, I don't like to hold grudges. I just want to be friends and live my life. They both grinned and we started talking. Later, Isabella and William arrived and started talking with us too. After a few minutes, I saw Ethan and Jason coming in our direction, and sitting down, Jason started looking at me. I smiled at him. He smiled me back, and the butterflies in my tummy made their presence known. Then I remembered the girl in the bathroom and chuckled. Everyone looked at me because of my sudden burst of giggles. Okay, so this girl came up to me while I washed my hands, threatening to stay away from Jason, and started saying weird things about me being a weak human. Everyone frowned. How did she look like? Isabella asked. She had ginger hair and brown eyes. Pale with a POI. I stopped talking when registered everyone's reaction. They all looked at Jason, who muttered, Melinda,